We're a little late on this one, but we've got the breakdown for the final hours, rerolls, and for farming during next month's Conquest. So better to have it late than not at all. This is a Conquest video. We are looking at the DATACRON set. This is Whispers of Wealth. I'm pretty sure this is DATACRON set 23. Actually, I'm not even pretty sure. I didn't confirm it. But we're going to look at the level 3 and 6 abilities. Just a quick summary on the ones that I think are worthwhile. Then do a breakdown by tier of the quality of each of these level 9 abilities. And then we'll zoom in a little bit further and talk about each one specifically. Whispers of Wealth is a little bit unusual as a DATACRON set. We only have one light side faction and 2 dark side factions. But that's kind of okay because the Cosmic Plunder set was really weak with the level 3 abilities on dark side. So loading up on dark side Crons, even for level 3 abilities, is going to be pretty useful because Cosmic Plunder, unless you are using the faction related Crons, is not really worth doing on the dark side. In this case, our level 3 abilities, there's 3 of them that I like. The max health and max protection, that has a universal application. Get the most of those. You can just throw those on blindly everywhere and get a good benefit. The 4th one, whenever dark side allies use a basic ability, they gain crit chance up, crit damage up, offense up. That's a solid one. I like those if you don't want to do a bunch of rerolls. It can be very useful. It's just boosting the characters a little bit. But the other one that I think is worth highlighting is whenever dark side allies gain tenacity up, they gain protection up. That one is going to be fairly useful for the pirates in particular. They have some good tenacity up synergy, so that's going to be giving them the good amount of survivability. Also, we can look at the mercenary squads. They're going to be able to get a good amount of use out of that level 3 ability as well, particularly if you have a good sign of Django like I do. Level 3 light side, this is the inverse of what Cosmic Plunder was for the dark side. There's just a weaker pool of level 3 abilities. So here there's 3 that I like. Overall though, most of these are conditional. You're going to be looking at the synergies on the specific squad. So there's nothing to really load up on. The 3 that I like are weakest ally gets turn meter for every light side ally. That's the best one, going to have the most synergy. Defeated ally, the remaining allies get speed and offense stacking. I like these Crons for GLs because in those cases you're creating a character. The GL is just getting boosted and getting more dangerous as the battle goes on. They're pretty reliably going to be the last character standing. But in general, your goal is to not lose those side characters. So this is a Cron where you actually don't want it to be triggered in most situations, but GL on defense is going to be pretty solid. And then the special abilities granting defensive buffs, that's going to be solid. Nothing special though. For our level 6 mechanics, we're going to try and rip through these. We only have 3 factions, and realistically, there's only so many ways that we can divide up these characters, particularly like the First Order, not that great of a faction. We're only really going to be using SLKR. In 3v3, maybe we can come up with a couple more teams to use, but really I would encourage you to develop this set for exploration purposes as a head start on a future DATACRON set. Now, in general, we're looking at the big paragraph abilities. Those are going to be the most powerful. Those are our targets as always. But in a couple cases, like with the pirates, there are some mechanics worth looking at that are going to be effective or powerful for struggling on our rerolls, or the rerolls are getting expensive. Now, the big one, this is our target. We start with 3 stacks of profit. And when we get 15 combined stacks, which should happen pretty quick, then we're going to get bonuses. Attackers will stealth whenever they get critically hit. And then the tanks, whenever they use an ability, they're going to call all pirate allies to assist. Now that sounds like it's going to be very powerful, particularly effective in 5v5 when we can have Quiggold and that other one we're going to be able to call assist. And then the support ability, this is whenever the support ally is inflicted with a debuff, all pirate allies are going to recover a little bit of health and protection. So some minor survivability. Now some of the other mechanics that I like here, we have whenever pirate allies stagger or stun an enemy, they're going to deal bonus damage to the max health. max health damage is always very strong, particularly on those characters that can apply an AoE stagger or stun. And this would be a very effective level 6 ability for a character like Sana, who is probably not going to be utilized with a pirate squad. She's her own leader, she's going to be effective with rebel characters, and in that case, her having an AoE stagger, inflicting this max health damage could help her be very powerful, whereas using the pirate ability on her probably not going to end up having that significant of a result. The other one I like here is the tenacity up, because there's a lot of synergy with tenacity up on the pirate faction, especially when we combine that with the level 3 ability that is granting the tenacity up. That'll be resulting in that protection up mechanic from level 3. And we also have this reduced damage ability, which is okay. It's something where if you get stuck with it on like level 80 or 80 material rerolls and you don't want to keep going, you can live with it, but it's not great and there's better options. But it's just not useless, so it's worth mentioning. For the first order, you only care about the long one. If allies are first order allies gain damage immunity for 2 turns. Whenever first order allies critically hit, all first order allies gain crit damage stacking, and whenever a first order ally attacks out of turn, all first order allies gain 10% offense stacking until the end of the encounter. And that is important to note for characters like Hux, who call mass assists. The rest of these, they don't matter. I don't really care. Like, I don't like the whenever an enemy is defeated by a first order ally, they can't be revived, because SLKR can already prevent revives. You don't really need another one. You also have Darth Ray now, and the rest of these are really weak, so I just would ignore them. And for our unaligned force users, similar to the first order, where only the big paragraph 1 matters and the rest of these are pretty weak. Whenever a dark side or light side unaligned force user critically hits an enemy, we're going to self-cleanse all debuffs and gain turn meter. Whenever a dark side or light side unaligned force user uses a special against an enemy with at least 3 debuffs, we're going to reduce their max health by 5. That's a mechanic that it should be noted so that we remember it during play. We want to be targeting enemies with debuffs to get the best use out of this level 6. And whenever a dark side or light side unaligned force user uses a special when they have at least 3 buffs, they gain 5% max health. So teams that are spreading around a bunch of buffs, like the Cere Junda squad, where Cere Junda and CONQUEST throw out a bunch of buffs, that's going to make those characters better. And it also means that any of those characters that we mod for max health, those characters are going to be boosted by this level 6 mechanic. And for the rest of these, you should just pay for the rerolls. I don't like any of them. Maybe critically hit, you gain stacking offense, but that's really temporary stuff. You should be trying to reroll these abilities as soon as you can afford it. Well, that's misstated. You should get to the level 9 ability, get your goal level 9 Cron, and then you can do your rerolls at level 6. Our breakdown of the level 9 abilities by tier, we have our must-haves, the solid ones that are really good and worth getting, and the nice tier. Some of these you can just completely ignore, but you might want to grab 1 or 2 just to be able to throw onto a squad. I have them roughly ordered by tier, and I put all this information up front in case this is what all you guys want to know, but we will be talking about them individually in the order that you see on screen here. The magenta borders are the ones that I'm targeting that I definitely want to get. Then we have orange borders. Those are for either my squad is not ready, or these are alternates, where if you are struggling to get the Cron that you want on the rerolls, then you can grab one of these other options, or they might be good in 3v3 for a secondary squad. In terms of my own preparation, this is what we're looking like. We have everybody at relics, but you can see with some of the pirates, we don't have them fully farmed up yet, but they are coming along. By the time that the set expires, we will be done with all of these characters, and we will have pirate Hondo. But the reason that some of those focus crons were in orange is because we have a few characters that we need to add relics to and actually able to get the best use out of those focus crons. Like Range Trooper here is somebody that we will be doing as part of building out those focus Datacrons. Same deal with the Rogue One. We're going to be looking at taking K2SO up to relics to get the full use out of the Radis Cron. But this is also the stage that my collection is in right now that we have just unlocked Rey and we are working on the final unlock with Pirate Hondo. We can just start taking all of our characters up to relics, which I think I'm going to be able to accomplish over the course of the next year. Really, before this time next year, I think that will be an accomplished goal. But we will start looking at Special Forces TIE Fighter Pilot. This is a massive Datacron. It's the crown jewel of this set. You will want to do the work in order to obtain this one. It's probably going to be annoying on the rerolls, but it will be worth it. It is by far the best Cron in this collection. While SLKR is active, TIE Fighter Pilot can't be defeated. While he's with advantage whenever SLKR or the Special Forces TIE Fighter Pilot is damaged, the enemy is inflicted with an unresistible stun. Whenever an enemy is stunned, the TIE Fighter Pilot gains bonus stacking damage, and SLKR and the Special Forces TFP gains stacking max health and maximum alt charge. So this Cron is going to be making SLKR get to his ult faster and more frequently. And whenever the stunned enemy is defeated, they can't be revived, and the leader gains a bonus turn and recovers health. So we're going to be knocking out characters. We're going to have SLKR get that bonus turn and keep attacking. That could be very effective with that ult ability, just kind of one-hitting characters. And the other thing to note here is because of this ability, that's one of the reasons why that level 6 ability that prevents revives is not going to be useful, because it's just a redundant ability. That's why it becomes worth rerolls. The SLKR Cron is solid. If you're struggling to get the Special Forces Cron, this will be a very serviceable consolation prize. The big thing that this is going to do is going to help ensure good banners with SLKR. Whenever he has 100 or more stacks of Siphon, he's going to ignore Stealth and Taunt during his turn. For every 20 stacks of Siphon he has, the First Order allies are going to gain defense and health steal until the end of the encounter, that maxes out at 200. What I don't like is the 100 or more stacks of Siphon condition delays the utility of a lot of this, but being able to have that 10% defense and health steal stacking is just going to make it a little bit easier for everyone else to be around on the field, make it a little bit harder to take out a few of these characters, and maybe we finish these battles with another character or two around, or maybe everyone. This Hondo Cron I like quite a bit. We can already use him on mercenary squads, pirate squads, smuggler squads, but we can also use him as a solo artist, and it's going to make him that much more effective. I love the flexibility here. Whenever Hondo uses a basic ability, he gains 9 additional stacks of ransom. That's important because he already gets 1 stack of ransom using his basic ability, so that means he's hitting that 10 stacks of ransom threshold that he needs in order to survive somebody he's applied captive to. He gets it immediately, so he's no longer going to be taken out by hitting that captive opponent early. We're also going to get protection up for some added survivability and reducing the cooldown by 1, which means we can spread captive, well, not spread captive, but we can apply it more quickly, which neutralizes a character on the field. And we're going to be able to use his second special, which does some big damage and helps control the field. We're going to be able to use that ability more frequently. This is very powerful. The Rey Cron doesn't do a ton, but what it does do is going to make her more effective. And as one of the cornerstones of a good defense, anything that is going to be expanding upon her utility is going to have a ton of value. The first time each turn she gains ultimate charge, she gains additional 6% ultimate charge. So she's just going to get to hit that ultimate more frequently. It's going to make her that much more dangerous, stack her efficacy even faster. Commander Luke Skywalker, final Cron of the must-have tier. Almost put this one a tier lower. he's partly here because I think this Crons set is a little shallow with the must-have Crons. But it's definitely going to make him more effective, make his squads more effective and a bit more dangerous if we use it right. Whenever CLS damages an enemy with a special and the enemy doesn't already have Armor Shred, we inflict Armor Shred. Whenever CLS uses a basic and damages an enemy who has that Armor Shred, we're going to inflict Expose, and CLS gains protection up. So the point of this is not to spread Armor Shred around. The point of this is to punch through a character who has Armor Shred. We get a mechanic that applies it. Say we throw it onto a tank character, maybe somebody like Chrysanthemum, hopefully. They get Armor Shred. Now we can inflict Expose when CLS is attacking, so we want to call CLS in to assist with like C-3PO. We're hitting that Expose. We're making it a little bit more easy for Rebel squads to punch through a character. That's what we're trying to do. By then, hopefully, the special has reset and we can reapply Armor Shred to the next character, stay focused in, and then punch through them. That's what we're trying to do here. I don't necessarily think it's going to help us beat Jabba, but it's not out of the question. Sometimes his Crons do, sometimes they don't. It's worth trying. Our solid tier Datacrons, 7 in total. 4 of them are going to be my targets. 2 of them are solid alternates. Quigolds, though, you might be able to put that above Silvo if you have a high quality Quiggold. I don't. I'm still farming mine along, so I'm putting the edge towards Silvo. Now with Fulcrum, arguably you could call this a territory war must-have. It's going to make her much more effective there, but we can't utilize her in the same way in Grand Arena. So Grand Arena, I'm calling it more of a solid tier Cron. Whenever Ahsoka gains Retribution, which she gives herself with her first special, they also gain 10% defense and 10% health steal stacking up to 200 and 10 speed stacking up to 200 until the end of the encounter. So as the battle goes on, she's going to be gaining Retribution regularly, so she will be gaining survivability as she becomes a bigger offensive threat. So she's just getting more and more dangerous and harder to take out. Since she has a solo Ami in Territory Wars, or if you have both Amis, you can utilize her with Cal Kestis and be able to throw her in multiple scenarios. In Grand Arena, I think we have a couple options with her. We could use this under Ahsoka, that's where I'm using it right now. I'm seeing some results. I think I got a hold or 2 out of it. We might be able to throw Fulcrum into an Ahsoka squad when we normally don't. Otherwise, we can throw her with Cere Junda, and I do think it could be quite interesting under a Cere Junda squad. Silvos I like, but there's a number of conditions here where I have questions about how good it's going to be. This is why I don't think it's a game changer. I don't think it's strong enough to be at that must-have tier. It's clearly good, but it's also why I think there's chances that if you have a good Quiggold, that Quiggold one could be superior. Whenever Silvo removes turn meter from an enemy, he recovers health and protection, and this is the bigger portion, resets the cooldown of a random pirate ally. Now there's some obvious problems here. He only removes turn meter with his second special and it's a 4-turn cooldown. So we're not going to actually be triggering this Datacron all that often, and a random reset of cooldown that could potentially be strong, but it just depends on which character is getting their cooldowns reset at which point. If they were near taking a turn anyway, or their cooldowns are almost reset anyway, then getting them reset is not really helping. So it's something that the RNG component is going to make it less useful, but it's still strong. I do like this Huxcron. It will boost him. I just like the SLKR and the TIE Fighter pilot ones better clearly, but I do think maybe in 3v3 or some other conditions we could be looking at the squad for some more flexibility in how we divide up the characters. It is strong. Whenever another ally attacks during General Hux's turn, General Hux and that ally gain 25% turn meter. So that means with his first special, that mass assist ability, which if he's modded correctly and is doing this near the start of a battle, that means Hux is calling everyone to assist right at the beginning. Hux is getting full turn meter, is basically getting a bonus turn at the start of the match. We've just done a big attack. We could be swapping over to First Order Officer to swap back onto Hux to very quickly cycle through these abilities and get some big attacks off. It's going to be a very strong opening salvo. Plus, don't forget the level 6 ability on the First Order, because what we're getting with that level 6 ability is we are getting a scenario where they're attacking out of turn. We are gaining that 10% offense stacking. So this is something that synergizes very well with those level 6. So you can see how it has all the ingredients of being a good one. It's just not going to supersede what we can be doing with the 2 in the must-have tier. This DATACRON is very interesting. I think there's an argument that it could move higher within this tier. I don't think there's anything that would make it move to the must-have tier, because I'm not convinced that it's good enough to make it so we actually utilize her within Grand Arena. It might make her better, but that's been one of the problems with a lot of DATACRONs in the past, except for the smuggler one, which was annoying, but that was using her more with a smuggler squad instead of using her with her traditional rebel squad. Whenever Sana uses a basic ability, she's going to gain protection up, so some more survivability, and she's going to be gaining turn meter. So assists are going to be useful with her. And whenever Sana Starros damages an enemy using a special, she's going to inflict fear, which can't be evaded or resisted. Important thing to consider with that special is because she can also inflict debuffs with it, in particularly target lock and then stagger. Whenever pirate allies inflict a debuff on an enemy during their turn, she's going to do additional max health damage. So she'll be doing some big damage with her AoE abilities. But there's also another pirate ability that functions in a similar way, where we inflict a debuff and do max health damage. This first one here, but it's more specific. Inflict stagger or stun, and then we do bonus max health damage of 35%. So this is going to happen less frequently, but does more damage. The only issue is that with Sana, the stagger is conditional. You have to have target lock first before you can apply stagger. So we might not get to actually trigger that condition enough to warrant going for that level 6 ability. We might want just the 10% max health, because that one will be triggered more often by Sana. DATACRON is a solid crown right now, but she isn't critical to any key team, and her utility as a solo artist has largely passed, although right now we do have opponents setting down Ewok Crons, but we need to be careful to make sure that Nest with this Cron would be able to negate what the Ewok Crons are doing. We don't want to be caught in a trap trying to utilize this Cron. And that's going to expire within a month or two anyway, so it's stuff to consider but be careful with. I like the Cron. I just don't think we're actually going to use the Cron or her all that often. It's something you just throw on for depth. And we've seen this one before. Whenever she stuns an enemy, she's going to gain crit damage stacking up to 200, and she gains 5 speed stacking up to 50. Just little things that are going to make her stronger. Quiggold does have a fairly solid Cron, and it's one that gets better the better your Quiggold is, so it's something to consider if you do have a good one. I don't. And I like it because it's something that should be working almost all of the battle, unlike the Silvo one, which is limited by the cooldowns of that turn meter removal ability. Whenever Quiggold is dealt damage, going to reflect 20% of that damage back onto the attacker as true damage. These things get quite a bit annoying. We see how it works in a Padme squad during Conquest all the time. It can very quickly start weakening your team. Definitely something that I like. And as a tank character, it is going to be happening. The Kylo Ren, this is one that I almost put a tier lower. The more I thought about it, the more conditions I thought in which I could actually get some utility out of it. And I'm more interested in using this under a Cere Junda lead than I am with the First Order, because this is what elevates it for me up to the solid tier instead of the lower tier. Whenever another ally uses an ability on their turn, Kylo assists, dealing more damage. So straightforward. Under First Order, I don't really care. But under Cere Junda, a little bit more interesting, because First Order they take a bunch of turns, you're doing some extra damage, but those squads, the way that they function, you're really leaning on SLKR, and you want SLKR to do everything, or Rey, so I don't care how quickly Kylo is doing damage on those assists. Not a big deal, it's not really going to change any battles. It does with Cere Junda. It's probably going to reduce the RNG of some of those Malicos Star Killer squads that we've been using a lot lately. It could be something that maybe it boosts the number of counters that we can use it for, or reduces the RNG on some of them. Like, we had scenarios where using Cere Junda Malicos Star Killer up against some versions of the Rey squad, depending with either with Exile or with certain Datacrons, it wasn't ideal. Maybe Kylo makes it where we don't need to start questioning where and when we use a Cere Junda Malicos squad. The question though becomes, would we prefer to use Kylo or like Ahsoka Fulcrum with the Cere Junda squad? But we could also just do both. We could keep Kylo here, put Fulcrum with Ahsoka. These are the things we'll be testing out. Our final tier, we're going to try and go through this quick. There's only a few that I think are really worth talking about, but we'll hit all of them. Our nice tier, we got Cere Junda, Swallow, and Visas as the ones that I think are worth grabbing, at least temporarily, if you're struggling on rerolls, like it happened to me with Night Trooper Cron this past set, where I wasted, well, not wasted, but I used all of my reroll materials trying to get Night Trooper, didn't get them, which meant that I had to live with a lot of other Crons in the interim. And so these are some of the ones, like if you got Brutus, if you got Fox, I would do a reroll. But maybe if you end up with like Cere Junda or Swallow, you'll live with it. And actually, you know what? At the end of this video, we are going to do some rerolls. I haven't rerolled any yet. We'll do a couple rerolls at the end of this thing. I'm open to being wrong on Cere Junda, which is why she's at the front of this tier. It could be a little bit better. It's not that strong of a Cron, but usually what you want out of a Cere Junda squad is for them to be slow, because there's a lot of mechanics that makes the squad better the fewer turns they take, or the longer it takes them to take a turn. And this Cron, what it does is whenever Cere Junda uses a basic on her turn, allies gain 25% turn meter. And that means like Malicos's protection up is falling off sooner. It means Cal Kestis's stacks of whatever it's called, those are going to go through a little bit more quickly. And those are things that are going to make the squad a little bit less effective. But I'm opening to it still working, because the most of the mechanics that happen from Cere Junda are about delaying the first turn, about delaying the first attack, which this Cron does not do. It's only affecting things when she uses her basic, which you can delay. So a lot of the functionality of the squad is still going to retain with this. But even with the condition that this may not hurt the Cere Junda squad, I don't really think it's going to help that much either. So it's at this bottom tier. Swallows doesn't really do anything, but he's a good character. It's really going to be about the level 6 ability anyway. I have this is one of the ones that we're going to attempt to re-roll, because I do have this one. And then it's not nothing, I guess. Whenever he deals damage, he's going to remove some turn meter. It's not a huge amount of turn meter though, it's only 25%. That's enough to like delay a turn a little bit, maybe mess up some of the turn order, but it's not a game changer. It's a little bit of extra functionality, so it's better than some of the filler Crons that we're going to be talking about in a moment. The Visas Cron, it has so many conditions that for me it's nearly useless. I don't really think it's going to have a use under Starkiller, and the Malicos is going to negate Visas' utility under Cere Junda. Whenever she attacks out of turn, she'll recover health and protection, and all other allies with retribution assist. So you can see with this, using Cere Junda, using Starkiller, it's not really going to happen. Those are not teams that cause her to attack out of turn, not really. And they're not really teams that have a bunch of retribution, so that means you need to put her into a squad where that's actually going to happen, or you're using her with like Fulcrum, because she's a character that's going to have retribution, but Fulcrum has a better Cron, so there's just no point. There's no real value in this one. Brutus, this is the same theme that we're seeing a lot of these, where I think the Cron is not synergizing enough with the mechanics of the character, where I don't think it ultimately helps enough to use it. And with Brutus, Whenever another ally recovers protection, Brutus gains foresight. He's not really out in the open, he's not a tank, he doesn't have any mechanics or synergy with foresight, so who cares? It's not terrible, but it's not doing anything for anybody. He's not really vulnerable or under threat in most situations, so it's just kind of there. These last three we'll talk about quick. There's just not much to get into. They're all first order Crons, and there's just multiple options for better first order Crons. With Kylo Ren, this is getting rid of debuffs, and he heals a little bit when he does it. It's not really an issue with him except for healing immunity. So the only buff that you really care about, I guess, shock and healing immunity. Other than that, who cares? And it's not doing any favors for any other First Order character. Irrelevant. With First Order Stormtrooper, you could make an argument that maybe under like a Phasma or other squads, you could get a little bit of use out of it. It's just a revive with some survivability. It's not nothing, but it's barely an annoyance. And Fox, there's nothing to talk about. This is filler Cron. Filler Crons are a waste. I don't even know why. Well, I know why CG puts them in, to just reduce the odds of us getting what we want. It's nothing that you would ever consider utilizing. Here's the status of my Crons with less than a day left as we continue farming Conquest. We don't really have any good ones yet. We're still actively working through, although a couple of these we can hold on to, but nothing in the must-have tier has been found. These are the focus Crons I'm working on. Maybe I push Iden a little bit further, but I don't think I'm going to be completely done with it during this Conquest. I think it's going to be more worth it for me to work on maybe a couple level 9 Crons, although maybe I push into the 200 level refreshes pretty soon. Now, I wanted to reroll Swallow, but I've already done it a couple times, so we're not going to do that again. It's just going to be cheaper for me to level up another Cron to level 9 than to reroll this one again. But we do have a couple other options. I think I will live with Silvo for the moment. Nest is one we can consider. Fulcrum I'm going to live with. And then we have General Hux, which I already re-rolled Hux? When was I doing re-rolls? I'm going to re-roll Nest just so we can do one on video, but I'm kind of fine with it. So we're looking at Sana and Nest. I hate this. I hate this. Because I'm not happy with either of them. I'm going to go Sana just because I think there's a bigger chance of me actually utilizing it. Like Nest, I don't think there's a good way for me to get any value out of it. If we get it again, whatever. We'll live with this one. And Silvo, the thing is, I'm happy with Silvo, so we're not going to reroll that one. So we're doing less than I thought we were going to do. I guess I did rerolls already. We have a roster video on the way. That one's filmed and will be edited soon. Look out for that in the next day or two. I don't think I'll release it tomorrow because we have my Grand Arena video coming out. But early this week, we will put it out. And then we have kit stuff to look at. There's a lot of other things going on right now. We will be active in our releases. Thank you for watching. Be excellent to each other, everybody. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.